Ladies and gentlemen, I am Yuzral, the game is Star Trek Online, and welcome to the first of the Delta Rising Tribble Time Warps. Yes, there are going to be many of these in the run-up as we gradually get content and various other bits and pieces released. Unfortunately, there's not a lot to work with at the moment, so a good chunk of this video is likely going to be speculation about Tier 5 and Tier 6 starships. We'll see what happens. First off, however, the character selection screen. This has had a couple of tweaks. I'm not sure some of them have been for the good. We'll start with the ranking systems. As you can see, all my characters are suddenly Rear Admiral lower half level 50. Of course, that is a bug. They should be Vice Admirals and Lieutenant Generals. It's also worth noting that the rank indicators have changed to match. I'm not sure whether this means Crypto are actually planning to stretch out the ranking system a little. A few people have commented that going straight to Fleet Admiral with Delta Rising is going to leave them with absolutely nowhere to go for future expansions, and is also slightly ridiculous since Fleet Admiral is the 5-star flag officer rank in Starfleet, and we should in theory be operating and taking orders directly from the Federation Council and the President, not some 2-bit lieutenant who happens to be running around at the time. But that's another matter entirely. Also, I have an invisible bridge officer. I think that might just be a loading bug. Let's switch over and switch back. Yep, there he is. So it's the Breen. Second issue. Okay, medical tricorder scanny bob that Lyasara's holding here on the right. You see that it flashed briefly and then stopped. So if we go over and then back again, yep, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then the animation looks like it's not cycling properly. Anyway, that may just be a unique thing. And Talis. I'm still not sure what the fascination with the wristwatch is. I'm guessing he's meant to be looking at one of the wrist-mounted holo displays. But hey, details. I actually thought we'd nailed that one down on holodeck, but I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've paid any attention to that. Other problem, this shiny blue column of light. At the moment, this is faction specific. You can see that the Klingons have got red. I'm tempted to note that since we have the Klingon emblem, the Glorious Battles, the Klingon starship in the background, not to mention the insignia symbols, I note that they're only being loaded in as I arm each character, which is an interesting point. What might be worth doing is switching these over to character types, so blue for science, red for tactical, yellow for engineering, but that's purely an aesthetic suggestion. What's less aesthetic is the fact that we have got some serious jaggy problems being exposed as a consequence. Look at the trousers here. And before you ask, I don't think I've got anti-aliasing switched off. Let's have a quick shifty. On post-processing, on graphics detail high, lighting quality high, dynamic lighting on, GPU acceleration on, and isotropic filtering is at 16 times, display, MSA 8 times, okay, that ought to be eliminating jaggies. Let's see what happens if we actually turn it off, and okay, well, there is a bit of a difference if you look at the lead edge of that saucer, but I think it's rather telling as to the way it's being applied to the characters that it appears to have made very, very little difference. Let's switch it back on for a sec. But you know what? Can I just pull this over? Yes, I can. Okay, so resolutions. Okay, wait a minute. Anti-aliasing, yes, that's what I need. MSA 2. MSA 4, yes, it is applying it dynamically. You can see the jaggy smoothing out on the lead edge of the Prometheus. Oh, MSA 8, not much of a difference there. Let's go for the temporal anti-aliasing. Helps a bit, but it's still very noticeable. Having the bright light behind the character really isn't helping that situation at all. Maybe the intensity of this needs to be turned down a little, or maybe Crypto could just dump it entirely. One or t'other, not entirely sure how much of a difference it makes. Anyway, back to MSA 8, since that's a little less of a strain. Anyhow, okay that. Yeah, correct one, do we have Nope, we do not have the topless science officer problem for the moment. One of my female bridge officers has a nasty habit of not loading the textures for her uniform. Great for morale, bad for crew population. Anyhow, let's push on. So, transport effects. Yes, again I think they've turned up the brightness. That looked overexposed to me. I'm not sure about everyone else. Right, so Delta Rising. Key feature, of course, is that the level system has been uprated. So, Vice Admiral 51 requires 36,600 skill points. Now, this is interesting. So, you notice we're now Vice Admiral 50 again. This has been fixed. So, I'm not sure whether that's an early change that Cryptic just put in on the login screen, or whether it's something that slipped through and somehow got broken via an arcane and obscure code dependency. However, at the moment we have got very little hard information on the Admiral and eventually Fleet Admiral ranking system. So we know it's going to be a talent point system. If you've played WoW and used talent points, if you've played EverQuest in the alternate advancement system, I think you're going to have a rough idea of what we're going to be looking at. But as far as specializations go, we only have what's in the dev blogs, and there's been precious little hard info to show you on Tribble. So, what is noticeable, however, is the XP curve. 36,600 for Vice Admiral 51, 183,000 for Admiral 1. Or rather, Vice Admiral 51, then Admiral 1. I'm still thinking in terms of tiers. Right, 36,600 on top of the... what is it? 366,000 that we've already got getting to level 50. That is going to take us to, at a rough estimate, 400,000 give or take. That number I do not think will change, because it will take us neatly to just about 400,000 skill points. That'll allow us to hit both our space cap of 300,000 and our ground cap of 100,000. Despite the increase in the skill point requirement, and it's a steep one, 183,000, that's basically 5 times and heading... no, 5 times pretty much straight, actually, what you need for Vice Admiral 51. It's going to depend on how much experience, or other skill points, the Delta missions are going to be giving us as rewards. Certainly, I don't think you'll be able to level effectively off any remaining regular content, because if we bring up the journal, hopefully, yeah, bingo, here we are. So I have Where Angels Fear to Tread as unplayed. In fact, for some reason I have A Gathering Darkness. Oh yes, I did that way back when we were remastering these, didn't I? Okay, so Hail. Now, skill points here. 945 skill points, 4,331 XPs. Expertise is untouched. Skill points for this mission on the first playthrough used to be 4,900, and they currently are on holodeck. So, as I say, Cryptic, I think, are going to very quickly deprecate the XP rewards for Legacy and Vanilla content once you hit level 50. What I haven't done, in fact, you know, let's do it now, is go back and have a look at what we can get with a low-level character. Although it's a little bit pointless on the assimilation missions, because you need to be level 50 or thereabouts for those, and I don't think I have got a suitable character handy. You know what? Toggle back and check just for a second. Yeah, level 45 to access the Borg missions, and I don't have a character in that kind of bracket at the moment. What is interesting is that the Nimbus missions have been unaffected by this, so still 2,000 to 10,000 XPs. Again, it's been cut down, but oh wow, 2,000 skill points for a level 22 mission versus 1,000 for a level 50. Yeah, disclaimer has been made here. This is very much a work in progress by Cryptic. It is very much unfinished. It is very much, well, beta. And beta is beta, to borrow a phrase. If you're expecting completed and smooth bug-free content, you're looking at the wrong server, boys and girls. So, that's basically all I have hard to show you on the levelling system at the moment. We also don't have access to any of the Delta content, but Tier 5 and Tier 6. Let's just switch characters. I'm sure I've got one near the shipyard at the moment. I've always kind of objected to Tier 5 as a description for the Admiral Tears because it covers everything from a basic captain who's just cleared out into flag rank all the way up to a top of the line fleet vessel, fully traded, fully spec'd, fully repped, and with full fleet gear. And that's a massive disparity in power. Not so much in the hulls, but certainly in the equipment. So Cryptic have said that we're not going to see our existing ships, our Tier 5 ships, obsoleted immediately, that we'll be able to play them level 50 through 60, and that they will be, I believe the phrase was, competitive in the dev interviews. To which I'm tempted to point out that competitive, at least when it comes to salary, tends to mean, well, you could get better elsewhere, but we're gambling you won't be able to get that particularly shiny job. So that could be open to speculation. Right, let's see. I want the ship requisition. Here we are. So, total back. What am I looking for? All ranks. So, technically Tier 5 starts with the baseline assault cruisers and advanced escorts, etc. So, what are we looking at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 console slots, various mixing, single commander, lieutenant commanders, and then on and so forth. And then it goes all the way up to the top of the line fleet heavy cruisers with the various shiny abilities, the thicker hulls, etc, etc, etc. I've made the point before, that's a massive disparity in power. In fact, I'm going around in circles. That was what I discussed not 2 minutes ago. So, here's the question. If Cryptic are going to keep all of these competitive, what are they going to do? Well, my suspicion is that we're going to see what Blizzard do with every expansion in World of Warcraft. We're going to see a brief spike of power inflation. So players that are already top of the line are going to see their power stay more or less horizontal, maybe creep up slightly with the increase of specializations, while every player below that will find themselves very rapidly replacing everything they've got with mission rewards. I suspect level 55, that is to say the jump up to Admiral, will see us get a new ship. Now, as for existing ships, there's been speculation about whether or not we'll be able to upgrade these. My personal instinct is that we will. Let's bring up the Z-Store for a second, because of course what we have, along with all of these ships, well, if you just look at all of these ships for a second, we have covered pretty much all the iconic classes. We've got the Defiance, we've got the Peregrines, even obscure stuff like that, the Intrepid, the Galaxies, the Sovereigns, the Nebulae, the Excelsiors, the Prometheus, the Oberth, okay, maybe not the Oberth, that one's a bad example, the Galaxy X, etc, 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 and I don't see Cryptic forcing us to leave all of that behind, not least because they face a mutiny on the boards if they did. So, how do you solve this? How do you keep existing ships competitive while bringing in new ships at the same time and giving players a reason to upgrade? The answer is flagship modules, at least as I see it. So, we're all familiar with fleet modules, 4 of them, or 1 if you've got the Z-Store ship, plus some fleet credits to get yourself a shiny upgraded hull. Let's run with that theory again and say that you'll need a flagship module, potentially several flagship modules, for Zen or Dilithium, plus something else, maybe, I don't know, fleet credits? Perhaps, maybe a little extreme, maybe just the modules on their own. After all, you are an Admiral, whether you're in a fleet or not. And that will allow you to get a upgraded ship, 11th console slot, maybe a 2nd Lieutenant Commander, you never know. Could easily boost things, dump the excess instant, upgrade it to keep things vaguely in check, another 10% hull and shields. Just tweak things again at level 60 or level 55 to bring the tier 5 hulls up to spec. But we also know that there are some Tier 6 ships coming in, and if we're going to be upgrading the Tier 5 numbers to level 60 content, they're going to need something unique. And as it happens, if memory serves, I believe Gecko dropped some hints that we would be getting a... If this is the case, the new Tier 6 ships will have similar numbers to the uprated Tier 5s, hence we're going to have comparable power levels, but they will have this new specialist feature replacing, well, we'll see. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much where I'm going to have to leave it. Since I've been rambling for a quarter hour, a lot of the actually useful test content was right out at the front, but there is one other thing, and I'm hoping I've still got the ship stashed, because I haven't pulled this particular hull out in years. And I'm not kidding when I say years, by the way. I'm trying to think when I last dug the Intrepid out, sometime just before I got the Vesta. The Intrepid model, ladies and gentlemen, I believe it has had a revamp. So let's just pull this up. Intrepid. Yep, you know what? I think that has indeed been tweaked. Can we get any better? Type 2 material, type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Type 6, of course, being the purchased ship, which is very retro eggshell white, but memory serves, it's not the veteran hull, although that doesn't look too shabby. Let's just... I think Type 1's actually the nearest that we're going to get. Let's get that into space and take a close look at it, see if they have actually upped the detail. You know what? I think they have. You've got these red markings around the escape pods. Now, I'm pretty sure they weren't there before. Secondary deflector isn't too bad. Primary is illuminated. I'd have to dig out my Voyager footage to know whether or not that's meant to be the case. And, oh yes, I haven't actually put an impulse drive in it, have I? Oops. Just quickly shove something in its Tribble, doesn't really matter what. There we go. Did that actually work? Oh. Okay. Right, so if you swap engines, you actually have to wait 20 seconds for everything to power down. Didn't know that! Still, the more you know. Yes, they have definitely upped the detail on the Intrepid. That hull texture wasn't there before. The nacelles... Yeah, you know what, if we're going to the Delta Quadrant, it's probably for the best that the Voyager gets a revamp. Anyhow, let's just pitch round. Yeah. Yeah, that's not too shabby at all. I think the front windows need a bit of a look. They still look very painted on, but that might just be an effect of the lighting. Of course, arguably they are just painted on. Also, we've got no light source for the illumination on the name marker. But really am nitpicking at that point. It's kind of nice. Also, let's just pop the native armour. Okay, and there's a bug. Right, so they definitely are working on it, but we've got hull lights and nacelles showing through the armour. Okay, well that's easily spotted, and hopefully we'll see that fixed fairly quickly. But, ladies and gentlemen, that has been an early look at Delta Rising, or at least some minor parts of it. There'll be more to come over the coming months, and until next time, farewell.